Good evening. I'm Katrina Rice. It is Friday, February 8th, 2013, and this is your 5-minute international update. Sudden upsurge of violence in Iraq. There's been major bombings in a couple of markets. They're mostly Shiite areas. They killed at least 36 people and wounded more than 100. This has been the single bloodiest day so far of 2013. The Sunnis have been staging large anti-government protests, over 10,000 people in attendance, though they are rejecting the violence that they say is being run by an al-Qaeda-linked group. However, the situation does not bode well for the election that's coming up April 20th, because that will be the first election since U.S. troop withdrawal. Thousands of people showed up for a rally in favor of Slovenia's center-right government during this time of economic turmoil for them. Over 5,000 people showed up, and it was directly before a planned and announced anti-government rally, of which about the same amount of people showed up for. Slovenia has been struggling. They've been trying to avoid needing an international bailout from the European Union. News came out today that the White House has blocked any attempts to send arms to Syria, even though some kind of intervention in Syria was apparently endorsed by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Secretary of Defense Panetta, as well as CIA directors and operatives. But the White House said no, and even though there was congressional support, etc., so however you feel about Syria, the White House didn't want to get involved. Tessalit in Mali has been retaken by France. Yay! Okay. In Tbilisi, Georgia, there have been protests against the UNM, that's the United Movement Party, which used to be the ruling party until the last election. President Saakashvili was supposed to give a speech. He was supposed to give his annual address, and he was prevented from giving it in Parliament by the Georgian Dream, the ruling party that now. He was also prevented. He was supposed to be giving a speech at the place where the protest was, which was a library. And during the protest, several lawmakers associated with the UNM were assaulted. China is attempting to stop the self-immolation protests that are happening in Tibet. Good luck with that. One man is in jail. He's being blamed for talking someone else into setting themselves on fire, and 70 more people have been detained. Ukraine is working on putting together an association agreement with the EU. I will have more details when there are some. Gunmen have killed Nigerian women who were giving polio vaccinations in the northern part of the country. At least 9 women have been reported dead. Karachi, the city in Pakistan, it's the one I've reported on recently in the last month or so. Lots and lots and lots of violence. Specifically, there was a cleric who was killed, and there's been a lot of protests since then. The city is pretty much at a standstill due to protests and strikes. No businesses are open, schools are closed, everything's just not working. There's also been some gunfire, but no reports of anyone dead. Also in the northwestern part of Pakistan, there was a bomb that killed 10 people and 23 people are wounded. Things have not calmed down in Tunisia any ever since the assassination of Belaid. There have been protests, and it looks like people have gone back to blaming the ruling party for being in charge, the one who's running the government. Heard the prime minister's considering resigning. Everything really came to a head, though, when police clashed with young people who were attending the funeral right outside the cemetery where Belaid was being buried. UN committee has claimed that hundreds of children were killed by U.S. drone strikes in Afghanistan. NATO has rejected this, saying that it is untrue. A writer in Azerbaijan has been stripped of his national honors because he wrote a novel sympathizing with Armenians. There's been long-standing tensions between the two countries, mostly over territory. An accused witch, because apparently we still have those, was burned alive in Papua New Guinea. It's really interesting that this happened. I guess a child was sick and died, and there were witch doctors who came and blamed this other woman, and so they just went and burned her. And it's actually in Papua New Guinea legal that if you are found of witchcraft that you can be killed. So obviously this is a problem. 2 men have been arrested after admitting their involvement in the attested assassination of Armenian presidential candidate at the beginning of the month, Parior Harakan. And nothing about what they've been charged with, but they have been arrested. In Bangladesh, hundreds of thousands of people rallied outside the capital to demand the execution of people who were convicted for war crimes in 1979 during the War for Independence. One more person was accused of war crimes, and he was given life in prison. However, the last guy who had this same thing was executed, so I guess they really would like that to happen. But apparently it's a political issue. Hopefully more on that when I have it. 54 people died in Syria today at a blast in a military factory. And finally, lighter note, I felt like this was interesting news. Everyone around the world knows what Monopoly is. There was a contest, I guess, for a new piece. They kicked out the iron, and instead we have a cat. So I guess that makes the new Monopoly piece the cat's meow. Yeah, I know, it's really bad. Anyhow, it's Friday. Have a great weekend. This has been your 5-minute international update. I'm Katrina Rice. You can find me on Twitter at Veribatim, Veribatim, and my voice is at singleblog.me. I will see you on Monday.